Hi, welcome to Mark Langley Horsemanship's podcast. I'm Jenny Barnes.
And I'm Mark Langley.
Nice to talk to you, Mark. You're in Victoria. How is it over there?
Yeah, it's pretty good in Victoria. Been a bit cold, but yeah, I'm on the Murray River out at Swan Hill, which is sort of getting close to more Western Victoria. And yeah, nice venue where I'm at, and nice people. So really, yeah, enjoying it. But it's been a bit of a road trip through Victoria, getting a few clinics done down this way.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, so we've got some questions from the members, as always, every fortnight. The first one I'm going to hit you with is from Daniela. It's not really a question as such. It was more sort of just to see what thoughts she had. She's been listening to another podcast from some professionals who were talking about the connection between a horse's hooves and their feet, which is really fascinating. What are your thoughts on that?
I think you might mean hooves and teeth.
Sorry, what did I say? Sorry, hooves and teeth.
No, that's all right. It's an interesting connection, and for a long time, every time I've spoken to sort of whether that be good blacksmith farriers, for a while there I worked in Scotland, and the farriers over there were all they'd have to do their profession, so they were sort of master farriers to be legally allowed to shoe horses over there, and also throughout Australia. And I've got a really good friend who's been an equine dentist for a long time, and also working with other equine dentists and stuff over the years of being around horses. You hear it said a lot that the connection between the foot and the mouth is you have to have the feet right and the teeth right, because there's so many problems related, from those foundations. As in, it's kind of like that. What they say is the two things that touch the ground are so important. So yeah, most definitely the especially for the the whole skeletal structure and muscular structure of a horse, it's very important to have the feet right and the teeth right.
So I'm guessing if one goes wrong, actually the other one goes wrong, and vice versa. Is that right?
Yeah. I'd like to listen to the podcast actually to listen more about it. But basically, one will cause a problem and the other one will cause a problem. But yeah, they're the first two things that you sort of want to be, like, a lot of times I've heard it as they're the first two things you want to be looking at, instead of getting someone in to look at certain muscular or skeletal problems. You want to be addressing those ones first.
Okay. All right. Jakara's got a question for you. She's been doing some exercises with her horse called Sunny, and her question is in relation to when they're both moving. So she can move alongside Sunny on the ground. So whether they're long reining or long reining with one rein, or walking beside him at the girth area, he will get quite worried or even defensive. So he'll sort of look back to find out where she is. He'll rush off to get away from the pressure of having her in his bubble. He can get defensive. He can give a snake head, sharp eyes, and even once tried to nip and cow kick. So he will allow her into his bubble, provided that one of them stands still. So she can ask him to walk past her, or she can walk around his body, no problem. But when they're both moving together and she's not in front, that's when he has a problem. He's still doing what she asks of him, but what can she do to help him feel safe with her being beside him or behind him when he's moving? She has done these exercises multiple times with no change in regards to him feeling safe.
Yeah, I really like your observation, Dakara, on the fact that one of you has to be standing still, because oftentimes I'll show people just how worried their horse is at just moving together, or even if just the horse walking past the person standing still. But I don't think it's often thought about how moving together can be such a difficult thing, especially from back past the eye. Especially on some horses where one side's really troubled. the horse has a lot of difficulty at trying to connect or assess that person on one side. And there's various reasons for imbalance, but I'm not going to talk about the imbalance so much so as just the fact that he's not feeling so well about you down when you're working with him down the sides and behind him. Now, it's one of those things that when you're trying to teach your horse, it's like graded exposure. So when I do the leading by lesson, the reason I do that lesson is so both the person and the horse are moving together when they start the lesson, as in the person and the horse start together. The person's kind of in a position facing, back, looking back past the horse and just leading the horse out to the side. And you can turn around at any time. You could even do the lesson where you're walking forwards with the horse and gently ask them to go past you, like if you were gently throwing an arrow throwing a dart, and you just gently cast the horse to walk past you. Now, with that lesson, as I say, it's the doing it in increments, the graded exposure that sort of helps. So when I'm walking a horse at my eye, whether I'm walking backwards and the horses, and I've just got them out on the side and walking off to one side on the eye, is I wait till the horse softens and follows a feel and so lets go of any brace. So I'm looking at the hardness or softness of the eye. I'm looking at the tension in the face. I'm also probably feeling and listening for the breathing, and I'm feeling in my hand for the amount of tension the horse is carrying in his ears. It's not leading softly and things like that. So all those things come into play before I even sort of send the horse past me. So it's just not like I'm just sending it past and wandering beside it till it gets used to me. I'm actually getting it soft. It's still carrying me on just the side of its eye. And then when the horse kind of relaxes there and softens, then I just generally it starts to carry a fairly nice forward thought, and then I can just sort of slow my feet a little and just send the horse past, and then the horse puts me further down the ribs opposed to me sort of just walking back there. And so that's so maybe you might have to spend a bit more time just getting him to soften and only maybe go, maybe walk at his wither for a while opposed to sort of at the rib cage or the hip, and get him so he's comfortable with that. The other thing that's very important that you want to look at is where your thoughts are, so where you're looking and thinking. So once you send the horse around, and if you were to turn around and look in the same direction him as walk with him, you've got to blend with him in his feel. You can't be sort of pushing on him and sort of try, and if he's crabbing away a little, if you're kind of crabbing with him, it makes him feel like you're pushing him. So it's very important that if he was to crab away and a bit uncomfortable, so you're not going with him, you actually step away and try and draw him back into you a little bit. So you've got to sort of look in the direction that he's going, not at him, and don't have your toes pointing towards him and just walking into him as you're walking with him. You're just going with him, just gently following his feel, not trying to intimidate him in any way or make him feel like you're sort of, and I know, you may not be deliberately pushing on him, but sometimes just a little subtle, accidental bit of body language can make a horse feel a little bit like a little snaky. They'll turn around snaking, what are you doing? So, but, sometimes maybe what you want to do to start with is you could try this. When he leads past you, you could just gently follow his direction, but let him go a little faster than you. So he's moving away from you and increasing the distance, and then repeat it until on the third or fourth or 10th time, depending on how he is, you're actually going at the same speed as him with him, but you might just let him drift away a little as you're following him, but he's going just a little faster. And then until he gets used to that, and you just walk off with him. And then also in the long reining part of it, like today, I had a horse at the clinic that, the best part of the two lessons was once I got the horse sorted out and confident with the boundaries there, that it wasn't too much of a hard job for the student. I just got them, and the best part of the time, they just stood behind the horse and just moved across to the side a little and moved across the other side. One, getting the horse used to the long reins, and the other one was just getting the horse used to them being back there, because this horse had a lot of trouble with someone behind them, and before you're even ready to drive that horse forward or start to think about that, she's going to have to spend a bit of time really behind that horse. And right at the end, we did a few little sessions where the horse, for a few minutes, just the horse walked forward a little and stopped, and walked forward a little and stopped. But most of the time was just spent getting the horse very comfortable with her just being back there and not doing anything at all except the bare basics. So, but yeah, it's a real good observation about, and I think everyone should recognize that as, can you move and I stand still? Can I move and you stand still? And can we both move together? And does it all feel good? If one of those is wrong, then we have to fix it.
Okay, the next question is from Nicole. Nicole is in Virginia in the US. She says she's incredibly jealous of all those who are in driving distance of one of your clinics. It's a dream for her to come over and see you. So that's really nice, and hopefully you will one day, Nicole. Nicole has a 12-year-old Tennessee walking gelding who prior to coming to her had desensitized training. And he was a horizon horse, nervous, head shy, and very reactive. And she says, though, that your approach has totally changed the dynamics and been a game changer for her horse and her. So thank you for that, she says. Her question, though, is to do with leaving his buddy behind. So she has a 20-year-old injured mare who she doesn't train. And she wants to do this sort of the separation away from her on the ground as opposed to under the saddle. She's seen your videos riding a horse away for the first time, but her question is, how can she actually do that from the ground, please?
Yeah. Okay. So the separation thing is, it's much the same as what you do under saddle. And as I was, saying before, it's you do things in increments. So it doesn't matter how you do it, it's the philosophy behind it. It does matter how you do it, but it doesn't matter if you're on the ground or on the horse or whatever. It's just the philosophy behind it. So the first thing before you think about taking a horse out, I believe very strongly in that horse can recognize that it can connect with you and feel safe with you. And if what you've been doing with your horse is really helping that, and actually, by the way, thank you for your nice comments, because it's really nice to be able to, touch and help people, and I really get a lot of enjoyment out of, seeing positive changes. So yeah, it's nice to hear that I've been able to offer some help to you, and it's also good to hear that you've made some nice changes for your horse. But yeah, with the separation, separation anxiety is connection disability. So basically, when you get the horse used to leaving the other horse under saddle, on the ground, doesn't really matter which one it is. It's still a similar philosophy. You've just got to think about it. Now, another way, which maybe you haven't heard me explain before, is I talk about it like a war zone. So the reason I talk about it like a war zone is I try and get people maybe feeling a bit more compassionate at what horses go through, instead of, my horse is excited or this or that and the other. So I just sort of, talk about a scenario that, imagine if you were in a war zone and you went to another country, for instance, like a war-torn country, and you've been dropped off in the streets of Kabul, for instance, and right when that all the fighting was on, and you're like, right, I'm in the middle of these streets. You're going to feel like you're in enemy territory. But say, for instance, you got dropped off at a base that was kind of like an allied area there, and that was where you felt safe. And what happens with horses is there's that base where they feel safe. Okay, righto, there's no enemies in here. The base is safe. So one of the basic, philosophies is getting a horse is to feel safe going into new places. Is you only take them so far into enemy territory and then bring them back to a safe place. Now, first of all, the horse has to be connected. As I said before, it has to have a connection with you, feel safe with you. If you don't have that, then basically it's not got the confidence of a leader and another ally that it's going out with, so it's going to get uncomfortable straight away, even when you just take it away from its mates. But even if you started where its mate is, you just take it away for a little bit and bring it back, and you take it away for a little further and bring it back. Now, imagine that as you go out that line of enemy territory, say it's a circle around the base, that basically circle gets larger because that horse has been out and realized that's safe and there's no enemies in there anymore. So the horse feels safer at going further and then coming back. But the thing that you're telling your horse every time is, if I take you away, I'm going to bring you back. And you do that thing with a lot of horses, even on, young horses are riding out, leading out, doesn't matter how you do it, as long as you show them that horse. And the only way to tell a horse you're going to bring it home is you take it out only for a short amount of time and bring it back. That could be only a couple of minutes, and then you keep doing that. Now, that's only as good as, so sometimes you're going to be in a situation where the horse does freak out a little, and then if you've worked on being able to distract that horse, center it with you, take its mind off that worry that it was thinking about, then you also got that as a tool to sort of help when things don't always go right. But basically, you're only just, allowing that. So I guess the video that you're talking about is when I'm riding and the horse just comes back and goes out and comes back and goes out. Well, I'm using that same philosophy. So you go out a little. You could go out till the horse just starts to get a little anxious and bring it back, or you could just go out a certain way and then bring it back and then go out a little further. And if you think, it is getting anxious, bringing it back a bit. But what happens when that line, that enemy territory line circle grows, you don't have to bring the horse all the way back. You can actually bring it back into allied territory, which means, that allied territory might have been right where the horse was originally, but then later on, it could be 100 meters away from the yards. It could be 200 meters away from the yards, until eventually the horse feels safe with you and knows you're going to bring it home. And you just do that. You just grade that exposure out until you can go further and further out, and be very good at understanding how to distract and connect with your horse. If there's a spot where your horse suddenly has a bit of a flip out moment. But yeah, it's the biggest problem I sort of see all the time at clinics. So thanks for the question.
Next question is from Carolyn, and she has a 3-year-old mare who's only just been started. She's taking it very slowly with her. She's having trouble with the forward aid when she rides, particularly into trot. She feels that she's quite a brave mare. She has been working through the challenge. Any suggestions?
Okay, so the forward into trot. Okay. Forward's an interesting one, and it's the one we all need, because it's the one we want a horse just to travel freely. And often, I see, and also in the day and age of machines, it's interesting because when everyone, and even myself, the better I got at just riding and used my ability to ride, the less I sort of thought about stuff. And then once I really started trying to nut everything out with horses and become better at understanding why horses had troubles, I really now know how to itemize everything I'm doing, and everything has everything I'm asking is a specific question, and it has a specific answer. Whereas before, I think, I used to sort of maybe started just to rely on, growing up and riding horses. You just do it because you can. And I see that knee-jerk reaction of just keeping legs on to keep a horse going, and keeping the reins in the right place to keep the horse going where you want it to do, and where you want it to go, and it ends up, horses get ridden like motorbikes or driven like cars, that we just point it and go. And that's why a lot of horses start to block out legs and zone out and things like that. So the accelerator is a very important tool to teach, and it takes a little time to get horses confident, and every horse is a little different, so it's hard to give you the most specific answer. But basically, for horses that lack a little confidence, they have a comfortable speed. A lot of them have a comfortable speed, and that might be just a slow walk to start with, or might be a medium walk. Now, what you're looking at is the horse. You're not trying to make the horse go past its comfortable speed, okay? So you're not saying kick it in the belly and make it go fast and then just leave it alone, because that horse goes too fast for me, I'm frightened. And then it sucks back. So basically something you want to think about is find out what the horse offers you. So if the horse is walking, find out what walk it is. Think about that walk and go, right, I know you can give me this walk and this is your confident walk, so let's lock that one in. And then basically all you do is you bring your horse below that walk, and then you say, can you go back up to that walk, but can you do that quite smartly, so the horse learns how just to accelerate up to where it's comfortable. So the horses, by bringing them below where they're comfortable, they feel a lot better about going up, because they've been there before and they're comfortable with that one, so they're happy to go up to that, but they're not happy to go further than that. So you just keep doing that same transition and getting that till it's really nice and, I guess, soft and snappy, not snappy and hard and, you know, frightening. But and then when the horse was kind of soft and snappy at that, what do you find is it offers you a faster walk. The other thing you want to look at in the walk, and I know we're talking about the trot here, but there's a bit to build in the walk foundation. Once the horse can accelerate up comfortably, there'll be a point where it'll offer you a fast walk, and it can go from the slowest walk or a stop right up to a fast walk. And you'll feel that accelerator feels silky smooth, and the horse is nice and soft. Then you'd start to think about walking it up. And then what I do is I get people to sort of tell me when their horse is thinking trot. And they go, how do you know that? And I go, don't worry, you'll know it. Because when you've worked on that accelerator and that horse is nice and smooth going up through the walk, you'll just go walk a little faster, walk a little faster, walk a little faster, and the horse going, I'm going faster, I'm going faster, I'm going faster. And then all of a sudden the horse goes, oh, I'm starting to think about trot now because I don't have much walk left. And then you feel the horse go into this little amble or little something that feels like a trot thought. And then you just relax and let it happen. If the horse goes back to walk, that's okay. You just do that again. So when the horse gets to that trot thought, you go, okay, is this a hard thought or a soft thought? What I mean by that, does the horse go, oh, I'm going to trot and get all tight? So before it even trots, you can back out and say, let's just find that walk again, and then go back up again until the horse goes, oh, I just might trot. And then if it feels like a nice soft one, you just help it into trot. But just what happens is you just get it to that point, you know it's going to drop into trot, and then you just let them drop into trot. And what will happen is all the pressure will come off the horse as the horse goes into trot. You're not going to be squeezing trot and then letting off, because you've already kind of let off a little as the horse was thinking, I might just do this. So you just keep working up to the walk until the horse feels like it's going to give you a soft trot. And then generally, you know it's going to give you a soft trot, so it does. And then after a while, when the horse has done those trot transitions a few times, well, you can go, well, now let's just trot. And you might be able to do it from a medium walk or a slow walk then, but after it's found the trot a few times. But yeah, that's probably, I mean, mostly what I'm trying to encourage people to look at when they're first getting a horse to edge up into trot without any kind of big bad transitions. Just, you know, if they just want a nice soft smooth transition, that's how I'd work on it.
Okay, keeping on the subject of young or green newly started horses, Nicole has a green mare who's had some time off and has come back into work and has bucked her husband off and bucked again, but has since settled down. The problem is, though, that she just has lost some of that trust. Is there any way that she can get through this?
So has she lost trust in the horse, or the
She's
horse has lost trust in?
Yes,
So the horse has settled down.
Yes, that's right. So she hasn't had a lot of rides on her since the backing episode, but she did settle down. She has ridden her no problem. But now she's sort of reminded of the history that, she seems to be okay, but could she do it again?
Yeah, okay. Don't worry. Fear of death is everyone's fear. And as the more experiences we have, or negative experiences we have, the more we have the memories of what happened in the past. And it's sometimes hard to shake those memories out of our mind. And don't worry, I can feel you on that, because over the years of probably doing now, the horses that, the horses that, sometimes I felt like I was the last on the line, to help that horse through. Some of them are really tough horses, and those memories, they don't ever really go away. So I can only really help you in your confidence with your horse trying to get over it. If you think your horse is, so obviously, there's ways that you can test your horse out and find out how your horse is going with its confidence and things like that. But for you yourself, with the horse, I tend to use distraction. I tend to set up little tasks, and I'm not a very goal orientated person. I'm far from that. I just kind of wake up each day, and I do my job, and I do what's in front of me. I don't plan a lot. I'm probably not one of those people. I'm very passionate about what I do, but yeah. So when I've got so when I say set up a task, I'm not saying I'm going to set up a whole big, plan. But what I do is I set up a little distraction. Okay, so I might just say to myself, okay, if I look over the horizon and I'm on a young horse, if I look over the hill and go, geez, I've got to go between here and there, that's a long way and something could go wrong. So that's obviously such a big task, that there's so many little hurdles along the way that, you're going to carry tension the whole way. So what I tend to do when I'm working with horses is I just try and focus on that moment, and say what I'm feeling for. What question did I just ask? Did the horse soften? How's the horse feeling? I try not to go too far into what could happen, where it could go wrong. So even if I just say leading the horse on the ground, the horse felt a little brace there. Well, I might just work on that till the horse softens. Oh, got it. Oh, good, it softened. Good. That's nice. That feels good. And distract yourself in the sense of just the feeling that you're feeling with the horse, as in when the horse kind of softens a little, and just little things like that. Just oh God, there's a bit, I feel tension here. I might just work on that. Don't worry about where that tension's going. Don't worry about why the horse has got it. Don't buy into any of that. Just go, I've just noticed that, I'm just going to help my horse, and just try and figure out a way you can help the horse through that. So just in the little groundwork exercises. But when I get up on the horse and I'm kind of up there going, oh, I feel a little unsafe. Well, I just work on the same principle. Well, I'm just going to take a left rein, and I'm going to just take that left rein, and I'm going to steer the horse, and I'm only going to just steer it till it looks over there a little bit. Then I'm going to go, oh, good, that was my first little goal that I set. I just want the horse to follow that left rein a little bit. And when the horse softens with it, you smile and go, good, I've just done that. And then you just take the right one and you do that. And you set up just little things that are only very small, but you think about those things and whether the horse achieved it or not, and if you've got to help it a little more or not. Don't get caught up in the big picture of what might happen. Get caught up in the little tiny things that are happening. And when I get people out on trail and stuff, instead of looking at the gate posts that you want to ride to, I say, look at that piece of grass over there. That piece of grass might only be a few meters away from you, but if you ride to that piece of grass and you ride around it, you go, well, I've just done that. Cool. And every time you tick one of those little tiny goals off, you feel a little better. But when you look up over the horizon and go, geez, I've got to get from here to there, that gets a bit scary. So I just break things down into really small pieces, and and I just try and live in the moment of what I'm doing, not in the future. And that's only just a few moments ahead of myself, not a long way ahead of myself. And so, I might have, when I'm riding the horse, I might have a little obstacle course in front of me of little tiny footprints or holes in the ground or weeds or bits of grass that I'm just going to ride through there. I'm just going to maybe turn here. And that might just distract me off the bigger picture. I just use those little distractions. But as I say, the other thing is I'm just feeling on the horse, and I'm not seeing if I feel a bit of brace in the horse, instead of feeling that brace and going, oh crikey, it's going to buck or it's going to bolt. I still got to have that in my mind, but I'm going to say, okay, I might just take this rein and help that horse out a little bit, and I just give myself a little job to sort of help the horse through. And I think that's the way I do it. But yeah, with your own self-confidence, it's there's other things that you can do, and there's other people you can see too. There's so many people out there that can offer. If suddenly you feel like you're a bit emotionally damaged after a bad experience, or what happened with your husband and things like that, there are other people out there that can really help you get good, positive mindsets. I'm only telling you what I can do, what I do for myself, and sometimes I think maybe I've got to go see someone in some areas to help me with some tension that I carry. But yeah, I just chatter away with little distraction in my head, and just keep those little tasks that I can do in front of me, and that helps me out a lot.
So does she sort of though need to feel that she can be hopeful though, once a horse bucks like that, after a break, does that mean that they're always going to buck like that? Or, with your experience, do they get better? What can she expect?
Oh no, bucking is just there's various types of bucking in horses, and some horses really, they get, some horses just buck because they haven't had a saddle on for a while and they're girthy, and they got moved out a bit fast and they got a bit of a fright, or they were just humpy in the saddle, and then and you'll never see it again. Some horses buck and you see it again. Generally, to get your own confidence, if you're feeling on your horse, to see what's happening, is if it was going to be a real fear bucker, you would have found after the buck, the horse would have been a lot tighter, a lot more, frightened. The girthing might have been, more tense and things like that. The mounting would have been more tense. But if you've got over that one bucking instance and things are okay, sometimes you could probably, I'm not saying this guaranteed, but sometimes you could put it down to that maybe we just took the horse a little a bit hurried after the break, and the horse wasn't quite ready. But now that that's happened, we've gone a bit careful, and now the horse is back in work and it's going okay. Because there's plenty of times I've been caught unstuck, like even on our stallion years ago. I remember a lady turned up with her daughter, and they were looking at a pony that we had. And I'd started this pony for a lady, and then we were kind of helping her sell it. And I thought, I'll just get on the stallion, I'll go out ride with the daughter, and she can ride the pony and things will be all okay. But what happened was I threw the saddle on the stallion, and he bucked like anything. And I'm like, oh, but I just took it for granted that he was a quiet horse when I started him. And he really went to town. And luckily, and I didn't know what the mother thought. I thought the mother must have been looking at me going, holy cow, are we buying a horse off the right people here? But anyway, he sort of settled down, and we went out on a ride, and he was fine on the ride. We came back in, and then next time I brought him in, I thought, mate, I'm sorry, mate, I was just a bit rushed then. And but when he was in work and I'd started him, I'd worked him according to his, where he was. So each day was a progression of the last day. So he never really did that. But when I threw him in the deep end for a second after he had a spell, he bucked. But then when I got him back in again, I just went a bit slower with him, and because that was in my mind, and I thought, I don't want that to happen again. But then after that, well, he didn't buck again. He just said, all right, you threw me in the deep end there. and so he was fine. So I completely trusted that if I got him in now, though he hasn't been ridden for years, I'd go, that's in there, that he's done that. So I would just give him a couple of days to settle in, probably knowing it was just him being overwhelmed because of his time out and getting thrown in the deep end. So chances are with your horse, that's probably all that's happened. You know, I'd like to think that's all that's happened. And once you know that, then you can go, okay, well, as long as I just don't throw him in the deep end after a spell, then, you know, I'll be okay. It's not just, you know, the horse is going to be in work and just suddenly buck randomly.
Okay, good luck with her, Nicole. You have to let us know how you go. Karen has started to do a little bit of working equitation with Kitty. She was a black mare that she had at the Gundagai clinic. She loves the obstacle work, but if they want to go any further, they have to start doing a little bit of dressage. And the instructor has said to her that eventually they'll have to do some contact. So she's hoping to actually work through that with you when she comes to one of your clinics in October. But she says, please can you run through the things that she needs to have working really well with her horse before they start to work on contact?
Yeah, really good point, that one, because once upon a time when I started horses and worked them, I must admit I would have had them in contact a lot quicker than I do now. And, you know, getting a bit of a bit of a frame on them, or I thought at the time it was a frame, but I realized I was only getting them to give in my hands and sort of soften in the jaw, I suppose, and just loosen up in the front. But now, because I'm very passionate about the horse understanding each individual thing, and also the geometry of the reins and how the different angles and affect the horse through its whole body, and how having to understand each individual rein individually and then putting them together later, I now sort of and how soft a backup has to be, how a horse has to transition from walk into backup and use its whole body and all those things, then I'm starting to sort of encourage people to sort of take a little longer to understand, you know, to get their horse to understand things before they, you know, ride them in contact. Now, contact is, I guess the way I explain it is when a horse understands how, like I say in people, for instance, okay, say if contact was, say if the reins were writing, learning how to write, or reading and writing, I suppose. But when you're learning how to write, you learn how to shape a letter, and you keep shaping that letter until you can shape it really nice, and you can get the shape right, and then you have to learn all the letters and shape them, and then those letters have to be put in a word, and then those words have to be put into a sentence, and then those sentences have to be put into a paragraph. And then when you're going really good and you're getting further on in your writing, it turns into running writing, and you join the letters together, and it just smoothly flows along. And that's the way I see contact, as every rein position and everything we're doing on the horse, you know, every individual one is just shaping that letter and then putting those words together. And then contact is when you kind of read that sentence and it, or you write that sentence, and it just flows along nicely, one thing to the next, all joined together. So what I would say is, if you can get that horse, one of those ones that is really important in contact, when the people pick up on the reins, you want that horse to pick up and soften through its body, and have its thoughts kind of with you, not pushing out into the horizon too far and just traveling along and kind of loose. So one of the big transitions you want to really work on, you know, apart from the horse understanding all the rein positions, from yielding the hip over with the indirect rein that comes in more to your sort of sternum, and then, you know, just moving the shoulders out a little with the indirect rein that will push up against the neck a little, to following the feel, the inside rein, like the direct rein, so the horse can look into a turn and step in a little bit. So all those things, if they understand them individually, but the one that really needs to kind of work really nice before you sort of want to ride the horse into contact is a horse slowing down and softening and transferring, like transitioning from forwards to backwards. So basically, before the horse goes into a reverse, it has to have softened and loosened up in its jaw and loosened up through its body, picked up its wither a little. And you want it at a stage that you've walked into that back up enough times that the horse will actually soften before its feet are going in reverse and its mind's reversing. So if you can get to the stage that you can walk the horse, pick up on a feel of the reins, and that horse just draws back through into that backup, but the horse is actually loosened before it's going in reverse and before it goes into that 2-beat backup rhythm, then chances are you're getting closer to riding that horse forward into a feel, and the horse kind of picks up its body and carries itself forward a little better. If the horse is kind of backing up and then suddenly loosing partway through the backup, then you still got a brace in there when the horse is going forward. And that means if you've got that brace, you're probably going to have to revert to what a lot of people do, is wriggling or knocking the reins a little, or just milking the reins a little, one at a time. And that's kind of like it becomes an addiction, because it comes a false sort of way. Now it can work, and I've seen it work, and I've seen people that kind of can sort of blend it in and still get the desired response. But also I've seen it used a lot that the people just use it as a cue for the horse to loosen its jaw. But if they take up a bit of a set rein or on the horse still braces. So if the horse has got to a stage it loosens and then backs up, that's getting pretty close, because what you'll do is you'll pick up the feel of the reins, you'll feel the horse loosen, and then instead of backing up, you just put a little feel, ride your core forward, and the horse will ride forward and round up a little more into that contact a bit. And I think that's a better way, because you feel it right through your horse, opposed to just getting it to loosen the jaw and just feeling a softening in your hands, but your horse is still kind of hollow down, along its back and things like that.
Wonderful. That's all we've got time for today.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for all the questions, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Jenny.